From beautiful downtown Milwaukee, the mecca of mythicism, it's the Mythicist Milwaukee Show, keeping the all-seeing eye of Horus on the secular movement. Produced weekly by Mythicist Milwaukee and sponsored by Atheist Community of Milwaukee, Kenosha Racine Atheists and Freethinkers, and King's Tower Productions. The Mythicist Milwaukee Show highlights movers and shakers from the global secular movement and explores the mythic origins of today's major religions.
Hi, welcome to the Mythicist Milwaukee Show. Today is 12/11/2016. I'm your host, Jacob Buffel. I have with me Brian Edward, my co-host, your co-host, our co-host.
That's it. I'm the co-host with the mo-host.
Ooh, nice.
All right.
That sounded pleasing. Today on the show, we have Steve and Tally Cass, founding band members of Monster on Sunday. Monster on Sunday has been rocking the San Diego music scene, introducing a new wave of lyrical rationality to a thoroughly religious environment. Steve and Tally believe in the merits of science, the virtues of critical thinking, and consider faith to be sheer folly. They are carving out their own atheist hard rock musical genre, so we'll be talking to them in a little bit. Before we do, I was watching the History Channel the other day, and I was watching the aliens, the ancient aliens. These rocks are built in a square. They didn't know about squares back then, which means extraterrestrials came to Earth and told them about squares. And I'm like, what the hell? Why is that the conclusion? Why is that the thing?
Right. I mean, and if we're going to say it's magic, why can't we just have magic bacterium? Right?
Exactly.
Like E. coli that are wildly sentient.
Exactly. Or just the carvings on stones and stuff that are human-shaped or look strange. They're like, is it possible that they found aliens and that's why they drew them? They don't even entertain the idea that it could just be art.
Right. Or that it wasn't meant for that purpose. Like Joe Nickel did a great explanation of the Nazca lines, right? You go above and you look and you see, wow, it looks like a fox. Wow, it looks like some other animal, right? They couldn't have possibly done this. There's no hills to look down from. Nobody could have guided this. You would have had to have been in a helicopter, right? So you immediately get anachronistic and think, okay, it was meant to be seen from above. This must be aliens. When no, they can do this, and it was never meant to be viewed from above. You would walk around the fox, right through its tail, back around its hind leg, underneath its rump, and you were supposed to be thinking about a fox. You were running through your meditations. You were concentrating on a fox. This was a ritual.
Yeah,
it was never meant to be viewed. It was only meant to be walked and sung, and
Man, we should have been recording this the whole time. Well, we're recording right now? Oh, thank goodness.
It's silly. So to immediately jump to aliens, right? Because, wow, I'm taking my 1950s plus view of, yes, you look at things down from above. This is not what they did. Why do you have to jump to that conclusion? It could be something else.
The bigger problem I have with Ancient Aliens is the fact that they are taking all of the credit away from humanity. All of these things that we've been able to build and learn from and build. And, when I was in Egypt, I got to see all the earlier pyramids. They don't look like pyramids. You can see like the scientific method being applied as they're building the pyramids. They're funky. They look lumpy, and then all of a sudden you see them, and they're getting more triangle shape, and then all of a sudden you have Giza. So like
right.
the fact that if aliens were so good, why did there need to be 40 pyramids before Giza?
Yeah, there would have been no process. It
Right.
just would have been, here's how you build this giant pyramid.
Exactly.
And why are they don't do the pyramid correct? You can see where their angle holds like 45 degrees, and then they're, ooh, it's not working right, and then they shift it like 60 degrees.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
And then the next generation learns, right? Somebody probably took a beating for that.
Probably.
And then the son teaches the grandson, so on, and you get better. I mean, why are these things polished? They're so polished that even modern lasers couldn't do it. And I'm thinking, well, they probably didn't use lasers. Right. Well, what did they use? Well, who knows? And why can't we perfect it now? I don't know, because there's nobody that spends his entire career doing stuff that is applicable for 4,000 years ago.
Right.
You don't make money that way. It doesn't make sense.
Nobody's trying.
Well, it was funnier when I was in Egypt. We had the guide show us how they were built, how the pieces were built, and how they interlocked into the pyramids. They had the science down.
Right, but the polish. I think it was the polish on the stones that they're saying.
Yeah.
I'm sure they did something, and I'm sure it took a long time, and there were probably people working on just the polish. Maybe it's lost to history. Maybe we don't know. But you can't just assume it's aliens.
There's a lot of great
Why
theories.
can't you just say we don't know?
There's a ton of great theories about it. You've heard the one where like the river was higher at the time, so they were like floating in blocks. I've heard that one. That's a pretty cool theory. Obviously, there's the levers and pulleys and all that jazz. They had that at the time, so that would have made it feasible. Is that you or me? Who did that? Jeez.
I'm
Start
on
over.
mute.
Just start over.
Well, yeah, but the other thing is though, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, is this was the government's project. This is what was explained to us too. The people that were working on the pyramids, they weren't slaves,
Right.
You know, they you get the famous thing with their slaves. They weren't slaves. They were paid and they were fed to work.
Yeah.
The government was shelling out. The rich pharaoh was shelling out money to the people working on these homes for his afterlife, and so that's how it's just like a construction worker you see on the street. They're not out there because they want to be, or they're not slaves, but they're working for a wage and insurance and to feed their family. And that's what these pyramids and all of these Valley of the Kings, all of these
Artisans.
giants, yeah, exactly.
They were skilled laborers.
Very
laborers,
skilled, yeah,
right.
and probably made good money. I mean, when the Baghdad and the Abbasid Empire in like 800 were translating all the Greek scriptures. They had to translate it from Greek to some kind of Syriac to something else, and then back to Arabic. So anyone that knew languages and knew how to write was on their way to Baghdad to make like the equivalency of about $300,000 to $400,000 a year. I mean, they were paying big money for this. So if you had the skills, then that's where you were. I mean, you don't do this by slave labor.
Well, the other thing, and it was funny when I was actually leaving Egypt, we had the newspaper on the plane, and there was a U.S. Excavation team out there that, while we were leaving, found another animal burial site. So it was where all of the meat that they fed the people working on the pyramid. So all these animals were buried in an animal burial site. And they found a worker that had a splint on his leg. It looked like he was injured, so they had a splint, like some kind of thing to
Keep it in
his leg
place,
Yeah, you don't do that to a slave. You don't put you don't give medical care to a slave.
Well, you might. I mean, slaves are worth something, but
Maybe not that much.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not.
If it's all slave labor, you're really going to waste resources on giving them medical
suppose.
attention.
It's like a horse.
I don't know what the slave economy was at
I don't
that
even.
time.
I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
But I
our
do know
ancient aliens
that's a
built.
very common misconception, though. A lot of people do think slaves built the
Right.
pyramids. Even very smart people that I know, I'll mention, and I'm like, no, it wasn't. And they're like, what?
Right.
You're full of crap. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Look online. Just
Yeah.
Google it. You'll see the answer right there. Top link. Probably Wikipedia.
Exactly. And that's where the whole 4 hours and then a break comes from. They had the candles that burned for 4 hours, and then you got a break, and then you worked another 4 hours, and then that was your day.
Oh.
8-hour day. Yeah.
And is that a biblical? Is that because of the Bible? Is that why people think it's slaves? Well, who thinks it's? Well, who thinks? Why did people think it was slaves?
Because the Israelites were supposed to be.
Yeah, so it was for biblical reasons.
Well,
Yes.
part of that, yeah, right.
Okay,
right,
people-
right.
I see.
Because of that false narrative with the false exodus that never happened either.
Correct. And you can prove that mathematically just by looking at gene sequencing. You don't have like what slave culture has ever never interbreed with their captors? It always happens, right?
Yeah.
So you would see that you would need to have a certain amount of Arab, Egyptian, and Jewish mixing of DNA. Now that you can sequence this, we know for sure there wasn't that. It didn't happen. So if there were 1 or 2 slaves, maybe that's an anomaly that wouldn't show up. But if there were 300,000 or a significant population there, you'd see the mixing. It's not there. There's a whole host of other reasons the Exodus didn't happen, but that's one.
Well, there's one thing that we can't say for sure is that it wasn't aliens. Bringing it full circle.
I think you can.
I know you totally can.
There are people that love to do it. I have a coworker of mine that loves the ancient alien theory, and he's mad that I'm an atheist because I don't believe in that either.
Right.
I mean, he thought this is great. You don't believe in the Exodus, so you can be on the same page with me. And I'm like,
Well,
but
I think
no.
the biggest argument against that, it's the same argument against Jesus and God and any supernatural being, is if there were ancient aliens, let's say 5,000 years ago, why haven't they come back?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So-
well, they'll argue that they have.
Well, where's the
then
evidence that they
why
exist?
why did they have such a close relationship with ancient humans and they have zero relationship with us? That makes zero sense.
No, I'm fine to
There's no sense.
believe the extraordinary claim with extraordinary evidence, right? As I think Hitchens said, I'm fine to believe in God. Show me the evidence. We're going to need a lot of it, but I'm open to that possibility. I just reject it
Yeah, just because we can't explain something isn't evidence of anything. And I think that's usually what people are grasping onto, both with ancient aliens and with gods or whatever.
Well, we like to do that on Facebook, right? Yeah.
But it's sad because they're taking away the credit of what humans have learned and created over time and learned from, and constantly, learning from our mistakes and building new things and trying new things, and you're giving it to an extraterrestrial source that if they truly were aliens, they could fly through space and through various dimensions and things. Why are they giving them stone tools? Why are they having them build triangles? Why aren't they giving them medicine? Why aren't they giving them computers or like these things that we have today if they were so advanced?
It's because they stopped thinking as soon as it was aliens. All right, let's just not even think about it anymore.
I almost feel like the way Sean's arguing with this passion, it's kind of like the military family. It says, my military history goes back. My great-great-grandfather fought in the Civil War, and so fought in the Revolutionary War. And, Sean's great times, 36 granddad, he was in there building the pyramids, and he's got his back.
Right. Well, that's it.
Because you're like, man, don't take that credit away.
Yeah,
that's all of
that's
us.
A good point.
That's all of our history. That's just being given away to aliens, and it's like, that's so... Why have them build pyramids that were going to house the pharaohs? Because there were real... uses for these pyramids. The pharaohs thought this was their gateway into the underworld, so they can help Ra bring up the sun every day. This was the whole mythology behind it.
Real uses?
Well, that's why they had what they perceived to be real.
Exactly.
Yeah, like they had their shoots and stuff for the spirits.
Exactly.
To come out and,
there were mythological concepts that were at play that didn't have anything to do with aliens. It was all about assisting Ra to bring the sun up every day. And that was the pharaoh's ultimate task in the afterlife, was to work with Ra. So where does aliens fit into that? I don't know.
This is impressive superstition.
Because Ra is the alien. Don't you understand?
Right. There you go.
Get in order. Everyone just get in line, because this is the new future.
You think that an alien would have a cooler name than Ra?
Yeah, gods are just aliens. I mean, that's their argument. Is all these things that they came up with. Ra's an alien. Everybody's an alien.
Our myth of the day. God bless you is a common English expression used to wish a person blessings in various situations, especially as a response to a sneeze and also when parting or writing a valediction. The practice of blessing someone who sneezes dates as far back as at least AD 77, although it is far older than most specific explanations can account for. Some have offered an explanation suggesting that people once held the folk belief that a person's soul could be thrown from their body when they sneezed, that sneezing otherwise opened the body to invasion by the devil or evil spirits, or that sneezing was the body's effort to force out an invading evil presence. In these cases, God bless you or bless you is used as a sort of shield against evil. National Geographic reports that during the plague of AD 590, quote, Pope Gregory I ordered unceasing prayer for divine intercession. Part of his command was that anyone sneezing be blessed immediately. God bless you, since sneezing was often the first sign that someone was falling ill with the plague. By AD 750, it became customary to say, God bless you, as a response to one sneezing. And that is our myth of the day. Thank you to our patrons, A. Brown, Dr. Richard Carrier, Scott Michich, Margaret DeVelden, Karen Garst, Scott Leash, Jason, William Evans, Grace Manty, and Jerry Kinsey. To become a patron yourself, please go to patreon.com/mythicist.
I just wanted to thank the Mindy Project official Twitter account for following us. Really huge fan of that show. I will take my leave. This was Sean, the producer, so if anyone's confused, go ahead, Jake.
All right, we are back, and we have Steve and Tally Cass with us, the founders and, I guess, the complete band for Monster on Sunday. How's it going?
Hey, we're doing good.
Yeah, what's up?
I don't know. We're just going to do a quick interview here, just the four of us.
Just the four of us. Well, mine is two-man members. I think, is it Cabello and Leo? Are those the other two, the bass and the percussion?
Yeah, Lee plays bass and Cabello plays drums for our live stuff currently, and they may or may not be on our second album. We're still figuring that out.
Okay.
And is that a work in progress?
That is a work in progress. We don't usually talk about it too much because it's probably going to be like 2018 before people can hear it.
Oh, geez. Okay. Understandable.
Right. So they're playing from a very long distance. You know, the speed of sound being 750 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's going to kind of go like out into the universe a little ways and then come back.
It needs to go out to gather some cash and then come back so we can go into the studio and then hear it.
So tell me a little bit about your process, because I'm curious as to how you develop your songs.
Well, that's a good question. We do them a lot of different ways, especially like on the first album. Sometimes we would get together and jam and throw a beat down and then just play and see what happens. And then sometimes I would come up with a riff and Tally would come up with the lyrics. The first example being Baby Eater was written that way, where we just had a beatbox and Tally and I just started jamming.
Oh, that's nice.
A lot of the songs, otherwise, most of the songs I came up with a riff and then I would send to Tally. We lived together, but I would send it to her to work on. And then other ones like Monster on Sunday, she came up with the lyrics first and had a bit of a melody, and I wrote the guitar around the melody. So we do it all kinds of different ways depending on what strikes our fancy for the song or whatever inspires us.
Yeah, those are both fairly common ways that I've heard that people develop music. Do you work collaboratively for the lyrics, or is that kind of just Callie's territory, or do you have influence there as well?
That's Tally with a T.
Tally,
like
I'm
a
sorry.
Tally.
Yeah, sorry. My mouth.
That's okay.
messed up.
Everybody gets my name wrong because it's a weird one.
That's not that weird. I just haven't heard it very often.
Well, yeah, I pretty much write the lyrics. Sometimes I'll ask for his advice with like one line. I'm like, I can't figure out this one line. It needs something that says something like blah, blah, blah here, but I just can't get something that like flows with the rest of the thing. And sometimes Steve will help me out. But for the most part, I write all of the lyrics and Steve handles the guitar. And the really unusual and kind of cool thing is, since it's just Steve and I, Steve actually writes also the drums and the bass parts.
Oh, wow.
He composes the whole rest of the song. Then we just hire musicians to play them, basically.
Oh, okay. So he actually like physically writes them out, like on paper, or maybe...
No.
No, I don't know how to read or write music because that takes too long.
Oh, hey, no, I know.
I record it.
He records it.
Oh, okay. So do you have like a drum set that you then record that with, and then you have? So you're just basically playing all the instruments.
Well, I do have a drum set, but I cheat on that one because it's just too easy to use Easy Drummer. And
How dare you? No, I kid. I know exactly why you would do that.
And then I play the bass, and then I play the guitar because that's more fun. I don't really. I enjoy playing the drums, but I wouldn't enjoy listening to my recorded drums.
I gotcha. Now, when you're breaking down like the lyrics, and one of them, just like you mentioned that they were kind of inspired by like Krauss and Dawkins. Like, is that another one where you crank it out? I think some of those when Dawkins is talking about the malevolent bully and he goes on misogynistic, infanticidal. Is that where you're grabbing it? Is it considered like almost a sample?
Yeah, it is kind of a sample. That intro in his book, The God Delusion, there's like one big paragraph where he kind of just rails on God.
I think it's in the second chapter, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's the intro to the book. Anyway, either way, it's in there, and I basically took that and then kind of tweaked it and thought about it and created the song Just Like You around it with this idea that believers are basically a lot like their gods because they're very judgmental and, bigoted and a lot of those things.
Yeah. I noticed that it's not without a little humor, though. And in one case, at the Reason Rally, you said, we're going to do a song that's not on the album. It's called The 10 Commandments. And then it's a 4-minute long instrumental.
It's the Atheist 10 Commandments, yeah.
The Atheist 10 Commandments.
10
that
Commandments.
was great.
That's a great.
Oh, you just spoiled the joke for everyone who didn't watch that yet.
Oh.
But yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's a reason to watch
They
it.
got to check it out.
Oh, yeah. I did like it. Personally, my favorite song was Christian Terrorist. The riff on that's great. That I feel like that if I'm going to go to the gym, that's what I'm working out to. Like,
Right on.
it's hardcore. It made me want to listen to some Metallica, to follow up with.
Well, that's a great compliment.
Yeah, very fun. So, okay, but this is what I like to. You guys are musicians. I'm a nascent musician. I do know how to read notes, but that's because I played marching band, right? I'm not a good musician. But what was your first concert?
Oh.
Or do you mean Monster on Sundays?
I'm thinking, the first concert that you went to.
concert
Perhaps at
I ever
9 years
played.
old, or if you were a late bloomer like me, 21.
I used to go when I was 14 years old to the Catalyst in Santa Cruz, where I'm from. I used to go to all kinds of crazy punk shows. I went to this one show. It was so badass. Who was it? It was
Public Enemy. And
Public Enemy was the headliner, and Rage Against the Machine opened for them.
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
No one knew who they were yet.
Wow, that's crazy. That must have been an
Yeah.
experience.
What about you, Steve?
My first show, was that Faith Hill or was it Brooks and Dunn?
Nice.
I don't remember.
Cowboy
Yeah,
Twitty
well, see-
opening up.
You got to understand, a few things have changed since I was a child.
Oh, yeah, no, we've gathered as much.
Don't feel bad. I mean, my first concert was almost Striper and White Lion. It only a snowstorm, prevented it from being that, and that would have been really bad. As it was Lenny Kravitz opening for the Cult.
Really?
Yeah,
You guys have such
Well, you
interesting
dodged a
stories.
bullet there.
I really did. I mean, Striper and White Lion. Oh my! What do you got, Jake?
I don't even remember. I can't tell you.
I'm trying to figure out if Striper and White Lion is really worse than Faith Hill and Brooks and Dunn. I'm not sure.
I think it is. Yeah.
I think the first I remember is Tool. But it couldn't have been my first concert ever. But I know that's the first one that I cared about enough. Like, that's one that I consciously went to. Because I love Tool. Do you guys like Tool?
Oh, I love Tool.
I could tell. I knew it. I was waiting to ask that question because I figured you might. And it kind of harks back to something we were talking about before we started recording. The difference between your representation of how you are in your music and then how you are in like an interview. And I think Maynard's a great example of that. Like, he's so like his music is so heavy and he's got such a big sound. But then when you listen to him talk, he's Maynard. You know what I mean? Have you heard his interviews? Like, have you heard him talking outside of what he does with Tool?
I haven't. I know that he's very shy. Like he like turns his back to the audience during shows and things like that.
He does.
So I haven't really heard any of his interviews. I've listened to practically all their albums a million times. So
He comes off as being like super nerdy, like mega nerdy. Yeah, I mean, from what little stuff he does do outside of actually performing, super nerdy, which you would probably never know until you actually listen to it outside. But in no way does it diminish how much of a badass he really is, because he is. He's totally a badass.
surprised hearing that from his lyrics, because he doesn't have like the dumbest lyrics.
No, not at all. It's very complicated, oftentimes very mathematical. I think that has a lot to do with the drummer, because I know he's into like the whole occult studies and things like that, and finding odd rhythms that relate to those concepts. But I digress. Sorry, I thought it'd be cool to talk about.
Yeah, when I think of odd rhythms, I'm thinking Primus.
Primus does a lot of that too. Yeah.
And Jerry.
Oh yeah. Oh, we're dating ourselves here, but Primus is glorious.
Primus is glorious. Yes, they're great. So, question, because you guys you've labeled yourself as being an atheist hard rock group. Like that's your thing, like your niche, I guess. Is that
Yep.
still accurate?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty much all we do. We don't do songs on any other topic. Everything relates somehow to atheism. I write all these lyrics based mostly on my life and my perception of the world as an atheist. So
Okay, so it's kind of like taking a mirror to like Christian music and seeing not a mirror, but it's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum of like, let's just talk specifically about what it is to live a life where I don't believe in anything, essentially, and the merits of science and that. Okay. And you haven't
Yeah, and
considered broadening it all out at all, or trying to reach out to other masses to kind of bring them in, or...
Well, a lot of people ask us that question. I think it's a good question, but there's so many bands that are doing that. Most of the bands out there are secular in some way or another, but there's no one that really focuses on the topic of atheism. And I don't know as we consciously were so much like holding up a mirror to Christian music as we were when we first started this band, Tally was looking for bands that focused specifically on atheism and topics that related. This was maybe 5 years ago, and there wasn't a whole lot. There's maybe bands that did a song here, a song there, maybe an album here, but then they would go back to something more mainstream. And we wanted to kind of be the band that we were looking for, that just focused on atheists and things that relate to that message, and really helping people to feel like they're not alone in this struggle.
Yeah, I did my research and trying to find, especially in metal, like Nightwish, and then there was a Starkill. You know, kind of both like different. Like one of them described themselves as melodic death metal, which was great. Melodic, is that the word?
Melodic,
but you know, with a little bit of an atheism theme. In fact, one of them they have Richard Dawkins lyrics kind of as is part of the bridge. But
right.
But yeah, but nothing specifically that that is really their own. And
I think you're the only ones. I don't think there is any that I've seen. I don't think there's any bands that just do that one thing. You know what I mean?
I've been searching for years since we started this band. I've been searching for another band or group or artist or anything that does something like us. But I can't find anyone like us. I'm pretty sure we are the only band that if you go listen to any Monster on Sunday song that ever gets written for the next 20 years, you could know that it's going to be on topic.
That's really cool. That's very unique. I think it's a good way to do it. If you're going to, if that's what you want to do, you want to be that voice, and that's a great thing you're doing.
Right.
Well, honestly, there's so much material. I mean, religion is doing new, stupid, and ridiculous and crazy ass shit every single day. I could write songs. Somebody said, like, aren't you going to run out of material pretty quick? No. Religion is it's a huge force in this world, and it's constantly creating new, crazy things that it's doing. I could write songs on this band for the next 500 years. It just keep on going.
And there's so much history there, too, to pull from. You can go back forever, and there's always something that you can pull from.
Past, future, yes. I feel like I have an endless amount of songs in me.
So I have a follow-up question, I guess. That's pretty... So have you had to scrap a song that wasn't to that topic? Like, you just had a song, you're like, oh, this is a great idea, and you're like, we can't do it because it's not our thing.
Nope.
No. That's never happened. Wow, that's shocking.
Well, we always, when Tally starts singing, her mind is in this realm, and she's always thinking, are these lyrics going to relate? So even in the very earliest germinations of the songs, she's writing something that relates. Now, we've had to scrap entire sets of lyrics because, I don't know if people are going to get this or whatever, but we've never had to throw out any songs for that reason. We've thrown out plenty of songs because we thought they weren't any good.
Yeah, it's fun. One of the songs I listened to, Pain, and when I listened to it, I started listening to the music prior to really doing any research on you guys, and the first thing that came to my mind was child abuse. And I wasn't sure if you were like talking about physical but it sounds more, after I listened to some of your interviews, where it's more mental. Like for me, the fear of hell was absolutely palpable. And Tally, you mentioned that like it was, if you opened your mouth or left it open at night, like demons might fly in. Like tell us where that, is that what you're trying to convey, is fear in the pain, or what are you trying to convey there?
Well, that song is about going through that fear. And what happens to you when you're a little kid, you're only like 6 years old or something, and you have this fear that demons are going to fly in your mouth and possess you. You can't sleep. You suffer from insomnia. I suffer from insomnia for, I think, 10 or 15 years. I'm still slightly afraid of the dark today.
Wow.
So it can really like terrorize you mentally. But in that song...
I mean, the fear didn't come. You didn't just like wake up one day and go, I'm going to have demons possess me. It's
no.
what your dad told you.
My dad told me that if Jesus didn't come into my heart, that's the risk I run, because he isn't filling the space in my heart. So demons could come take that space over. That's quite frightening when you're a little kid.
It is. And I didn't know that was like a Mennonite belief. I know that, and Steve, you come from a Mormon background. I've heard that from ex-Mormons before, that saying that, if you get away from the faith, that's what's going to happen. Like demons will attach to you, and that's why your family has to separate, because they don't want the demons, as if it was like dirt or MRSA or something.
Is that a common
you're going to
Mennonite
infect
belief?
me.
Like, is that a common thing for Mennonites?
I'm fortunate in that my family's been very accepting. My parents were converts, so I don't come from a family where it's like tradition to be Mormon or anything like that. Or we grew up in Vermont, not Utah. So I think things would be very different if we grew up in like Utah, where it's cultural to be Mormon.
Yeah.
And I think a lot more shunning happens there. Whereas my family, because they were the ones that were actually in danger of being shunned by their more Protestant family for becoming Mormon, that they were much more accepting of me changing my religion than a lot of people that are more, I would call, cultural Mormons are.
I didn't get to quite answer that last question fully. He asked specifically, what is the pain part about? And you go through the fear, and I just wanted to say that the pain part specifically is about trying to ask Jesus into your heart and feeling rejected. He won't come in there. You don't ever feel a sensation of Jesus being with you, or like he's your friend now, or he's in your heart somehow. I never got any sort of sensation of that. I just felt left alone and like deserted, or like he didn't love me or didn't want me. Rejection. That pain, it was really harsh. It's like, you're just going to leave me here for the demons? Oh, my God.
Yeah. So you're inviting them. It's like you're inviting a friend over. They won't
really
come.
what the pain is, and you want it to just go away because it's such horrible pain. And I would pray, praying like every night. For years I did that. It never happened.
And you never felt it then? You never felt it once and you got it, you couldn't get it back, or you just never felt it?
I never did feel it ever. And finally I gave up. And I was kind of like, screw you then. When I got older,
Here's Monster on Sundays, Pain.
Jesus
So my question is, retrospectively, do you think that other people, when they, because a lot of people will claim that they have Jesus in their heart, or they feel the Spirit, or whatever they say, is it just pure delusional BS, like of just them, like, I think this is Jesus, like I had a palpitation, and now I feel Jesus inside of me. He's inside there. Like, is that why do people think that? Like, how do they convince themselves?
Steve can answer this one because he did believe at one time.
Okay.
When you're talking about belief, I don't know how it is with other religions, but I do know how it is with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as everybody knows, the Mormons. And they tell you that you're going to have a religious experience that's going to convert you. And that's a big part of what they want every member of the church to experience is this spiritual experience that gives you a testimony that the Book of Mormon is true and Joseph Smith is a prophet, and on and on.
So they sort of prime you for it. Like they set you up to have this experience, quote unquote. Like they build you up for it.
They prime you to have this experience. They don't tell you specifically what it is. It's different for everyone, but you're going to know when the Holy Spirit has touched you, which I think is really smart brainwashing. Now, I assume when you're talking about religious experiences, it's very similar across any religion, that it's not really specific. Just as long as God has touched you and come into your heart, you're good. And so with it being really vague, I remember that they challenged us all to read the Book of Mormon and to pray about it and ask God if it was true. And they told us, if you did that and you asked, believing that you would get an answer, that you would get your answer. And so I did that. I did that for a really long time. I think it took a year before I got my answer. Now, in retrospect, I mean, if you think about anything and you really beat your head against the wall and you convince yourself that you are going to get an answer and you feel guilty if you don't because everybody tells you should, you're a bad person, basically, if you don't get an answer. Eventually, your brain's just going to give in and go, fine, I'll give you what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
Unless you get it externally somehow. You've gone on a 2-year mission, right? With the Mormons, right? To kind of better yourself, I think, is what you mentioned.
No, I don't think it was to better myself. It was because I thought that's what I should do. Now, when I had my conversion experience, that's when I was like 11 or 12. That's not suspect at all because your brain's fully formed at 12, for sure.
Yeah.
That's definitely something to base your whole life around. But anyway.
Right, because our driver's licenses, we can definitely get at 12.
That's right. Yeah. All the major decisions we make happen at 12.
12 legally, right?
You can get a loan for a house at 12. I mean,
it's what I think of it now is really just blatant brainwashing. It's nothing none of these tricks to get people to believe anything or anything surprising. And they don't work on everyone, but they work on a lot of people, and that's all that needs to happen to have people that are really converted and really believe. And for me, the experience was that I realized that there was nothing that was unique about that experience, and there was nothing that made it in any sort of way a good
supernatural
form of evidence.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what pulled you out of it?
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of things that pulled me out of it. There was a while that I just, I got disinterested with going to church. I was more interested in playing music. Then I went back to church a couple times and felt really uncomfortable, like something was weird about it. I met Callie, and she was an outspoken atheist. There's like a lot of things. All of my friends changed. But she finally got me to read a book where the guy talked about his conversion experience, and it was losing my religion. I can't remember who wrote it. And when she read that, I realized that there was, in that moment that I heard his conversion experience to Catholicism, there was nothing unique about what I had experienced. This is a common thing. Any religion, anybody that believes in aliens, anybody that believes in any crazy shit has experiences that are similar to this, and they don't mean anything.
Yeah.
All these beliefs conflict, and they can't all be true just because you feel it. And that's when I realized that feeling something is not evidence.
Right. So you had a cerebral, like cognitive dissonance. It seems like mine was more considered more like Tally's, in that, like, oh my God, how can a loving God potentially send me to hell? And hers, like, why isn't God coming to shut my mouth from these damn demons. I mean, yeah, like that. How did you get out of it then, Tally? You obviously were living with some cognitive dissonance. What did it happen? 16, 18, 21?
I think somewhere around maybe 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there, I stopped trying. I was like, I'm not going to try anymore. It's been years and I can't sleep. And screw you, God. You don't want to put Jesus in my heart? Fine. I'm too rotten for you? Fine. And I kind of became this rebellious teenager. I thought I was just kind of rotten or something. Like no one, I wasn't wanted in some way. So I think that kicked off me being an extra rebellious teenager.
Did your music styles change then? I mean, did you all of a sudden like rebellious music? I'm not sure what that would have been at the time.
Well, I think like any teenager, I started listening to like punk rock and roll and stuff.
Okay.
Most teenagers, I'd say. But yeah, I remember the moment I realized I thought I was just like the bad person in our family. Everybody else was religious. I was the only one who wasn't. What's wrong with me? Something's wrong with me. Fine, I'll accept it. I'll just say something's wrong with me, and that's that.
Wow.
And I was just living my life that way. And then I was babysitting for these two kids who were not too much younger than me. I think I was 15 or 16, and they were like around 12-ish or 11 or 10 in there. And I asked them if they were going to church on Sunday, and they said, we don't go to church. And they were just like playing all nonchalant, just saying, we don't go to church. And I was like, what? And they said, yeah, we're atheists. We don't go to church. And I was like, me. That's me. That's what I am.
There's other people
Atheist.
like me.
I don't need to go to church. And they were like, we don't believe in God. And I was like, that's me. I finally had like a name for it. And so I've always been very attached to the word atheist, because for me, that gave me my voice. That gave me like a redeeming quality. I'm not just this like rejected, unwanted. I am a type of person.
Yeah, you're
that
part
exists.
of something.
There's other people like me. And so that was it for me. I call myself an atheist ever since then.
Wow. So your parents never told you about atheists, or was that not a thing they ever discussed with you, that they exist?
Oh, yeah. I never heard anything about it. I thought this is how all human beings on earth are. They're all,
Wow.
the same religion. They all believe in God. And I'm just that one person that God hates.
Right. And that I can't feel it. Right. In the same way. And to connect to somebody that does. Yeah. It gave you an identity in a way.
I cannot believe that that you never had been told about it by anybody, though. That's intense.
And little kids had to tell me.
Wow. Yeah, my parents they told me about atheists, and they like looked down on atheists, and very often I was told like can you believe so and so's an atheist? What the hell? Like, wow, I never would have thought so and so would be going to hell forever. And I'm like, wow, atheists are bad, And that was my experience in that, until later on I was like, this is all a bunch of stupid bullshit, and just kind of passed it all out. I was like, yeah, I guess I'm the bad guy now. I don't care. It feels good.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I don't know if I would have known what an atheist was, but I would certainly wouldn't have known anyone that would have. But yeah, to me, everything was the next life. That this is some kind of run through. That I started wearing my seatbelt at 16 because I was afraid that I was getting to second base with my girlfriend. I was just so afraid that like if you crash then before confession, you're pooped.
Like a horror movie.
So I really identified with the pain.
My girlfriend. Fuck now. I'm going to be the first one to die.
Oh God, yeah. But once you had gone to confession, I remember thinking, well, no need for the seatbelt now. I'm clean.
Yeah, it's like it never happened.
It always struck me as really bizarre that everyone's in such a rush to baptize babies. Like, that's just one of the most insane practices I've ever seen. Like, as soon as it comes out of the womb, they're like, hurry, get in the holy water, quick! We don't want it to die. If it dies now, it's going to purgatory, or wherever the hell they think it's going.
Well, it was limbo.
Limbo,
now
yeah.
Limbo's gone.
No, I can top that. Circumcision is by far way more crazy and insane.
Oh, true.
Especially when the Jews, suck the skin off.
God, yeah.
Something like that.
What?
What do you do?
I think
gnarly.
I've never heard of that.
certain, Haredes, I believe, do that. It's a very orthodox sect of Judaism.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
that's insane.
But
that is really insane.
Yeah, when we had Brage, we decided that we weren't going to circumcise him, and every single doctor, nurse in the hospital came up to us. It seemed like, and they were like, "What? You're not going to circumcise your child? What's wrong with you?"
Really?
And we're like, "No, we're not."
Yeah, leave his penis alone. Get away from him. Get away.
I don't know if, I think that's very much a regional thing or like a U.S. thing, because in Europe, circumcision is not a very popular thing from what I understand. They just don't circumcise.
You would, in California, of all places, if anywhere is going to be be about circumcision, who cares? But no, they asked us, I don't know, like 50 times if we're going to circumcise him.
Yeah, they view it as a health thing here in the U.S. for some reason, but it really doesn't have any health-based benefits from what I understand. It's just, I think it morphed into sort of a common practice that doesn't necessarily need to be one.
Correct.
It's just,
that's very weak evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the doctors and nurses didn't seem to know about that.
Really?
They all thought we were crazy.
That's wild. You were like, did you say, dude, I signed the consent form? No. Stop asking.
I'm surprised they're allowed to continue to ask after you say no.
Well, you get different nurses. I mean, like...
I suppose. Yeah. I suppose.
Yeah, it's like a rotating carousel in the hospital.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah, being in, like in the related medical field, though, it's still shocking a little bit to me, because why just let it go? I mean, I kind of know what they're up against on so many other ways. It is surprising to me that they dwelled on it so much.
And
we discussed with our I don't remember what you call them, the doctor that delivered the baby.
OBGYN.
Yeah. Long before, we said we do not want a circumcision, like 3 times to her.
This should be in all our paperwork, but they still had to come and harass us about it. We're sleeping with one eye open on Brage. Like, they aren't whisking him away to steal part of his penis, are they?
Look at you. I know that you've said that you don't want to have a circumcision, but we really want to cut your child's penis. We really want to do that. So just let us do it.
Get them now. They're asleep.
It's going to look so much better when it's done. We promise.
I should check the reimbursement on that, right? Like, we check the reimbursement rate on circumcision. Maybe it's higher than we think.
Maybe it is. Yeah. Maybe there's some financial reason why they pressure people. It's just a money thing.
I think they just wanted to tack on another $5,000 for that little
That's got to be
procedure.
it. Yeah. It has to be. There has to be some kind of reason beyond. Because I know it's not really a religious thing anymore. I don't think people even look at it. Most people don't look at it that way. I don't think. I think it's more. Yeah, I think it's just a medical practice that has fallen into normality for no reason, really. Or maybe it was practiced often back then, and now it just kind of fell into it's just a thing we do.
It's a thing we do. So you guys were at the Reason Rally, jammed out for a while. You're right. I kind of spoiled one of the things. It's still worth the hour video on YouTube to check out for sure. But what was your favorite moment at the Reason Rally? Or, you don't have to say favorite, or one of your most memorable moments.
For me, it was when we did the song Make a Believer. We dedicated it to a very important Reason Rally attendee, Ray Comfort.
Yes, sir.
It was a lot of fun.
Beautiful. I noticed that. Were you there when he was like jabbering on with Penn Jillette and Penn and Paul Provenza?
No, but that would have been something to see for sure.
Oh yeah, no, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. I'm glad you dedicated something to Ray, the Banana Man.
Oh yeah, I really wanted to get a sandwich. I was very disappointed that didn't happen.
They didn't have any sandwiches there?
Ray said he was going to donate how many Subway sandwiches?
Like 10,000 Subway sandwiches,
something like that.
Oh, I knew he was going to be there. I didn't know that.
Was that like a pledge that he made? I haven't heard about this either. This is news to me.
Yeah. It was a pledge he made.
He made an announcement. Yeah.
It was about successful as the second coming.
That's great. You know who was another one was there that I got into it was with Eric Hovind, right? So I know he videoed me, but I don't know if I showed up on his channel or not. What he's been doing is bringing atheists that have gone to that Creation Museum, and he's bringing Chick-fil-A instead of Subway.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a little, hey, here's free Chick-fil-A.
I have a few more problems accepting a Chick-fil-A than a Subway sandwich.
Hey, speaking of that song, Make a Believer, are you guys going to play a little tune for your listeners?
Yeah, that's actually a good one to play. Let's cue Make a Believer.
Make a believer round up. I know about the Bible. Yeah, it's lied to me since birth. heaven and hell, and I've been threatened with the fire. But even if I did feel guilty, what makes it more than an emotional plea? I think I've heard it all before. Do you think you got something new? And if I'm blind, then help me see. Make a believer out of me. I've been told Jesus loves me, but God is sending me to hell. Why should I think this twisted logic is anything more than a myth? So you've had a personal experience full of magic and emotion. How can you be sure that it wasn't just a good hallucination? I think I've heard it all before. Do you think you got something new? And if I'm blind, then help me see. Make a believer out of me.
I just Christian terrorist. I think it'd be great work on movie. Why Christian terrorist? Are you obviously you're probably not talking about bombings and beheadings. Are you talking about more just the mental like gymnastics? I do remember fear of hell being absolutely real. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, my brother is a Christian apologetics major. He gives speeches on the subject. He's traveled around the world planting churches for the Calvary Chapel. And he's a great guy. He's really nice and everything, but he is all in on the religion thing. And I feel like it just dawned on me one day that, like, he's not my brother anymore. Something is different. Like, it's never going to be the same. It's like he's possessed in a way or something. And then I was talking with Steve about it, and he said it's kind of like they're like he's like a sleeper cell. He could be woken up if the church and heads of churches and things, or he had some experience from God because he does believe he's a prophet and talks with God. If somebody gave him an order to do something scary, I don't really know if he might actually do it. In a way, when you're that brainwashed by something, you're almost like a little sleeper cell just waiting. You might just be the regular guy, family guy and stuff. And he has 3 kids and things. But it's scary what could happen to you. You're very easily influenced by your religion. So that's kind of the concept behind that, is that everyday church people could be terrorists.
That is true. I believe that at some point you can become a fanatic. Much is made that mental illness, especially over the Orlando pulse bombing, shooting rather. They were saying, "Oh, well, he was mentally ill." I think this is fanaticism. When you believe balls to bones that this is the right thing to do, there's a certain amount of people will do that, and if you have enough people believing this, you're going to have a fringe group that's terrorists, and that's tough. And I'm convinced that this can be any religion.
They see themselves as the righteous person doing what God asks them to do, doing the hard thing. They're the Abrahams. They're the martyr.
Yeah, absolutely right. You have an enormous amount of self-esteem. I think that a lot of times when you're the bully in this way, it's not that you lack self-esteem. It's that you have an overinflated sense of self-esteem. And when you have all those things combined with the fanaticism, you can do weird things because you're convinced that this is the right thing.
You kind of think of yourself, I think my brother thinks of himself as a little bit of like a superhero. I really do think he thinks that. Like he's got God behind him. That's like imaginary muscles on your arms. And I mean, think about it. If you really do believe in God, that he's your buddy and you talk to him and you have a relationship and he helps you out in your life. Wow. That's some powerful shit right there. You think you're almost like a God.
Oh, and this is something a lot of our songs talk about is a morality issue, really coming from the idea that when your morality isn't based on some sort of rational thinking, that it's not really, especially when you go so much by what God commands or what the church tells you to do, you don't have a sense of morality anymore. You have a sense of authoritarianism, and whatever somebody tells you to do is right, not what you think is right.
Right. It's funny when you'll get different answers when you ask, especially this in fundamentalists, if you ask, what do you believe? And then what do you think? You'll get two different answers, but many times their actions reflect what they believe, not what they think.
Yeah, because they're tied to the authority. What they think doesn't matter. If they think sacrificing their son like Abraham would be a terrible thing, that doesn't matter. If God commanded them to do it, it would be the right thing to sacrifice their son, to kill their son on an altar.
Yeah.
This is the kind of morality that church teaches us is good.
Right. That did always bother me, the sacrifice. And I'd ask my parents about it. They'd say, but God stayed his hand. But then I would put myself in that position, imagining my own father above me. And I thought, there's no way he would do that.
No.
I knew he wouldn't. So why do we celebrate that? I mean, everyone would have been weirded out. My mom wouldn't let that happen. But, you know.
Yeah. If you imagine setting the stage and God tells your dad to go sacrifice you, and he goes and he builds an altar, he gets the firewood ready, he gets the knife ready, and he puts you on there and ties you up. And your mom's like, yes, he's a righteous man.
Oh, I know.
Can you imagine that happening? And God stayed dad's hand, though. Good thing the angel came at the last minute.
Right. I know. And I would have been like,
What
God,
a hero.
I swear to God, I'll throw away my strip poker disc on Commodore 64. Just don't put that knife in me.
Brainwashed masses always surround me. Everywhere I go,
I wanted to ask you guys before we're done, where can people listen to your music? Where can we find you?
The best place is to go to our website, which is monsterionsunday.com. There you can purchase our album and a whole bunch of other band merch. You can also donate there if you want to help us get album 2 out a lot faster. That's very helpful.
You can go to videos and watch any of our music videos or live videos that have come out, lyric videos, and that's all on our website.
Okay, I've also seen you guys are on Google Play. Is that right?
Yes, we're on all sorts of streaming stuff. Google Play, Spotify, iTunes.
Great. So if people
Apple.
want to find you, they can easily find you.
Right. So you're working on a new album, but no live events coming up in the near future?
No, but we are releasing new lyric videos every week and also live individual videos from the Reason Rally every week for the next few months.
Well, alternating weeks.
Alternating weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we do have a few shows that are scheduled, but as soon as they are finalized, we'll be adding those to our website as well.
Cool. Tally, one of the questions I wanted to ask, where do you get all the cool T-shirts? I mean, every interview or every concert or live performance I see, and you're like, God hates facts. You know, God loves you, but he's sending me to hell. Like, these are cool. Are you making your own, or where are you finding these?
I have made a couple of them myself. I kind of search far and wide. I get a lot of them from Amazon. I'm a big Amazon shopper. And then I'll just search far and wide. If I see anything out there, I'll try to find out where they got it and get one for myself. So, yeah, I do have a pretty good collection amassed here.
Yeah, kudos on the tees.
Well done.
We look for very specific things. I found a couple on Redbubble as well. We always try to get either a red and black and a kick-ass atheist message on the tee. This is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Well, go to their website, check it out, see if you can get some of those sweet teas. Steve and Tally, Cass, thank you so much for being part of the show. You guys have been great.
Hey, thank you. Can we do our famous outro?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to need your help on this one.
All right.
We're going to try something new this time. We've never done it before. You guys want to help us out with it?
Oh,
Yes,
hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so basically, at the end of anything we do, we always just scream, Monster on Sunday! And then we scream right after, ah!
Okay.
So if you guys would just do the scream after with us.
Sure. Consider it done.
All right.
Right
All
on.
right.
Wait,
Here
what
we
kind
go.
of scream do you guys want? Heads, I just want to know exactly, because I got a whole
Like
arsenal of
a good
screams.
rock scream.
Yeah!
Put your fingers we put devil horns in the sky
All right, you got
and
it.
scream.
Yes,
Right?
like Satan is coming out of your body.
Yes.
Okay, I can do that. Thank you.
All right. So thanks everybody, and we are
Monster on Sunday!
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks for having us on the show.
Our
That was
pleasure,
awesome.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Mythicist Milwaukee Show. The Mythicist Milwaukee Show is brought to you by Mythicist Milwaukee. Producer Sean Freisig, Associate Producer Fritz Blandon, Engineer Jason Lawson, and hosts Brian Edward and Jacob Wolfel. Every week we produce a new broadcast that sheds light on religion, secularism, and mythology. If you enjoy this show, please support us on Patreon at patreon.com/mythicist. Closing theme written and performed by Shelley Siegel.